Hi, I'm Jen Lee, head of marketing for The Bump. Thank you for joining us for this installment of Reclaiming Your Power. Reclaiming Your Power is our series devoted to highlighting changemakers who advocate for better outcomes for Black mothers in the fight against the maternal mortality crisis. It is such an honor to have Charles Johnson here. He is a philanthropist, an entrepreneur, and the founder of For Kira, For Moms. Thank you again for being here, Charles.
Jen, thank you so much for having me. I've been excited about this conversation for a while, so thank you so much, and thank you to the entire team at The Bump for making this possible.
So, Charles, the loss of your wife, Kira Johnson, has really led you to this relentless pursuit to help give a voice to the voiceless and powerless, and especially in the face of the healthcare system and, the really scary statistics related to maternal mortality. How did you know this was your calling?
So, Jen, that's an excellent question. It's actually a question I've never been asked. To be honest, I never saw this as a path for my life. And when this happened to me, I was just so angry. I was so frustrated. But then I was appalled that, number one, this was happening in the United States. And two, why did it seem to me that nothing was being done about it? So I felt like I had to do something. Didn't know what I could do, how I would try and make an impact. I felt that I owed it to Kira. I felt like I owed it to my boys to do something. And when I decided to share Kira's story publicly for the first time, you know me for a long time. I'm a very private person. I didn't know how it would resonate. I didn't know how people would respond. And honestly, if I'm being completely transparent, I thought that I would share it. Maybe some people would take notice and I would go back to just trying to raise my boys in obscurity. But what happened was something very differently, and the universe and Kira had very different plans for my life. And the way that Kira's story resonated, it really became kind of this spark of this catalyst, what we've seen as this maternal health revolution. And the more that I would take steps towards making our country a better, safer place for mothers and babies, the more support that I would gain and the more doors that would open up. And it became the type of alignment that you only receive when you are walking in your purpose and your calling. And so once those things began to happen and I began to see the way that we were beginning to have an impact on such a scale in a relatively short period of time, it was clear to me, as much as I'll be honest, I struggled with it because I was like, but the further I would go, the more doors would open. It was one plateau, there was the next one, next one, next one. And I had to really just surrender and really like, look, this is what you are meant to be doing. This is what your life is going to be until this is no longer a problem.
It's so powerful that you've taken your tragedy and turned it into something so powerful for all of us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. How are your little ones? How are they doing?
Yeah, so they're doing really good. It is never a dull moment. So Charles is 7 years old, and my heart is full because just thinking about that, Langston will be 6 years old next month, right? Which of course also culminates. It's all birthdays, all milestones are bittersweet because it's also marked 6 years without Kira. But they are amazing boys, and of course they get it from their mom, but particularly under the circumstances, they're thriving. They're doing wonderful in school. They are just kind, and they love sports and science and just all the things that two 6 and 7 year old brothers are into. And I'm just really, really tremendously blessed to be their dad.
You guys are all incredibly lucky to have each other, and it's great to get that update about the boys. So, Charles, you have worked hand in hand with politicians, policymakers at the highest levels, both at the federal level and at the local level, to get, laws instituted that will really impact and affect change for Black mothers in this fight against maternal mortality. And, I think that is such a noble cause, and we thank you for doing that. But I have to say personally, to see any level of progress blocked by bureaucracy and politics makes me a little angry. So I'd just love to hear a little bit from you. Like, do you have any tips of what we can do at a more local or grassroots level to move this whole thing forward?
Sure. So here's the thing, Jen. And I think I get it. Politics can be extremely frustrating. Trust me, I know. I've seen things that are discouraging, that cause me to question a lot of what goes on in our government. But this is what I'll say specifically around this issue around maternal and infant safety and well-being. What has been instrumental for us to be able to make an impact is the fact that right now in this political climate, this is the most divisive time that we've seen in our lifetime, right? Everybody is divided. Everybody is anti this, pro that, so party driven and rigid. And so, what we've been able to do with this issue specifically is take advantage of that. And the way that I frame this issue is when I talk to politicians, when I talk to elected officials, I don't care if they're the president of the HOA or they're the president of the United States. What I tell them is this issue is something that in the midst of this environment is uniquely galvanizing. Because there are two types of people in our country, Jen. Either you are a mama or you have one. So while you're talking about constituencies and people that have all these vested interests, regardless of whether you are white, black, brown, purple, rich, poor, gay, straight, either you are a mother or you have one. And so when we look at it like that, this is an opportunity. And what I tell our elected officials is this is your opportunity to step out boldly in support of something that is unifying and show the people in your community, from your district, in your state, in your country, that you are a leader that believes that these things are important. That's one option. Or you can explain to them why you believe that mothers and babies are not a priority. And so this is the way I operate, is that if you tell me that you believe that mothers and babies, if you tell me that the safety and well-being of mothers and babies in the United States is a priority, I'm going to make you prove it. I'm going to make you prove it. If you believe that Black women dying at rates 5 times that of their Caucasian counterparts is shameful, I don't need your condolences. I don't need your sympathy. I need you to step up to the plate in meaningful ways and not just support legislation, not just support policy change, but champion it. There's a difference. There's a difference between showing up and stepping up, right? I don't need people to show up. I need people to step up, right? Because that is the only way that we are going to see substantive change. And I get it. Policy is something that is ugly. It is something that is nasty. But the reality of the situation is the first step that we can all take is understand that there's so much more that unites us than divides us, right? And that's the magic trick, is they distract us with all these things that are really petty and inconsequential. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to be safe. They want to have access to opportunities and jobs. They want their children to have a good education. That's it. Everything else is minuscule. So focusing on the things that unite us, and this is one of those prime opportunities to show people that we can come together around an issue that truly affects everybody. Because if we are not about the business of making our country better and safer for mothers and babies, what are we doing?
If there ever were an issue of our time that should be nonpartisan, bipartisan, this would be it. So thank you so much, Charles, for really just offering yourself up to be on the front lines and being one of those people that are not going to be quiet about this and will continue to move us forward. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. It's truly my honor.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, I'd love to know, just, do you have any words of encouragement for families that are really thinking about starting to expand their family, or maybe even for those that are already pregnant? Do you have any words of encouragement?
Sure, sure. So I want everybody to understand is I know that when you hear stories like here, when you hear these statistics, that it can be horrifying, that it can make you anxious, it can make you, you know, scared to bring life into this world. And that's something that I never want. And that's why I and we are fighting so hard. With that being said, it's important that families come to pregnancy informed and empowered, informed about potential outcomes, and then empowered with the information that they need to navigate if challenges are presented, right? And so it's important to understand what birthing options are available to you, right? That starts from knowing what insurance coverage you have, what providers in your area and that you are the person in charge of your body and your birth plan. Exploring, understanding what doulas are, midwifery. And so I am of the belief that every woman should have access to the birthing experience of her choice, right? And it should be paid for. That's another conversation. We're working to get to that. But in the meantime, making sure that we understand what asking important questions and how to qualify your providers, right? Are they aware of the Black maternal health crisis? What are they doing to make sure that you are safe, that you are cared for when you are looked over? Who makes the ultimate decision about interventions, about whether or not we're going to go for a cesarean or an episiotomy or some of these interventions or Pitocin or some of these things, right? Understanding things like informed consent, what that means. And even if you are birthing in a hospital, what that hospital's Bill of Rights are, right? Meaning that what are your rights as a patient to address your concerns, to elevate your situation if you feel like you are being denied and dismissed the level of care that you and your family deserve. The last thing that I'll say too that's critically important, because I understand that families are evolving, right? And we also want to be inclusive when we're having these conversations, not just talk about the traditional paternal, maternal, or mother and father. If a birthing person is entering in a same sex situation, if a birthing person is entering with a friend or family member, that's the support person. It's important that whoever comes to that birthing experience has somebody that is there that understands their desires, what their birth plan is, and is prepared to advocate for them in the event that they are unable to advocate for themselves.
That is incredible advice. And I have to say that the piece about asking if they know about the maternal mortality crisis and the opportunity to solve this for Black mothers is a really good one too. And it's almost a great check to see if this is a culturally competent doctor, if they acknowledge it and you feel a level of empathy and they actually talk to you about it and try to, address the anxieties that you have, that's probably a good sign.
Absolutely. I'm literally getting chills and goosebumps because you hit the nail on the head. That is exactly what it is. You want to ask these questions because based on their response, you can gauge whether or not this is a good fit for you, right? And I have two important pieces about this. You want to ask, are they aware of it? Do they know these stories? And what are they doing? Because if they respond, you know what? I am aware of what's going on with the maternal mortality crisis, and this is what myself as an individual, this hospital, or this practice is doing to better protect mothers of color, that's a wonderful sign. If they respond defensively and they say something like, I'm not racist, I treat all my patients the same, that's a red flag that that's probably not a good fit. That's the first thing. And the other thing that I want to say that's important is I want to challenge people that are not from communities of color that it's just as important that you exercise your privilege in these conversations, right? When you go into your obstetrician, if you're pregnant, ask them, do they know about what's going on with women of color? And then ask them what they are doing because it is important. Another way towards solving this is allyship. So we need not only people from our communities to carry the water on this, but we need people from outside that are not Black and brown mothers to press these issues and make sure that providers are aware and it is the top of mind when they are caring for all mothers.
Absolutely. And you famously said it once to me, if we can solve this for Black mothers, we can solve it for all mothers.
When we solve it for Black mothers, we're going to solve it for all mothers. Absolutely, Jen. Absolutely.
Charles, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you are. This has been such a great and important conversation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Jen, anything for you, anything for the bump. It's my honor to be here. And every mother out there, every family, it is going to be wonderful. You are going to not only survive, but you are going to thrive before, during, and after your pregnancy. And that's what we're here to do, is make sure that you have the information necessary to do exactly that.
Awesome. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
For more info, visit the Bump Black Maternal Health Hub so you can be supported, informed, and empowered during your journey to and through parenthood.